In this episode of Left Off the Map, Henry and Anna Terry head to Mawbanna. Along the way, they stop at a fantastic antiques emporium in Devonport. So going to an antiques emporium made me think of old style or antique recipes. Got a special guest coming up later in the episode, but first, the oldest or the most antique recipe I can think of is ANZAC biscuits. My grandmother used to make them all the time and I stood next to her side while she did it. So I'm going to show you how to make my version of her ANZAC biscuits. There'll be no measuring done here whatsoever. I'll give you a bit of a guide. In my nan's house, there was never measuring done. It was all by feel, by smell and by sight. And that's how we're going to make our ANZAC biscuits today. Got a cup of tea ready to go from my kids. Apparently I'm the best out ever and that's a fact. So always have a cup of tea when you're making ANZAC biscuits. All right, first up, you have to, melt what would be your wet ingredients. I've got a little bit of water in there, about 2 tablespoons worth. I'm gonna put in 150 grams of butter. The thing I like so much about ANZACs, and I think the reason why I like making them with my nan is they're quite simple. 150 grams of butter, about half a cup of brown sugar. You can use caster sugar if you want. I always like brown sugar. I like the flavour that you get from brown sugar. A little bit, about 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. Slow golden syrup. We're going to put that on the heat and just melt it. And that becomes our wet ingredients. Then in this bowl, we're going to put our dry ingredients. So our dry ingredients will be flour, oats, and desiccated coconut with a little bit of bicarb soda. Now, if you put the bicarb in, you'll end up with chewy ANZACs. If you leave the bicarb out, you'll end up with snap ANZACs, so hard ANZACs. It's completely up to you. I like the chewy ones, and that's how my ANZACs differ from my grandmother's ANZACs. Hers were always hard and they would snap. Mine are nice and chewy. Now we don't want to boil that, I just want to melt it. I just want it to be loose enough to be able to fold through our dry ingredients. Now again, a guide, about 1.5 cups of flour, just plain flour. About 1 cup of rolled oats. About 1/2 cup of desiccated coconut. As you saw, nothing was measured. And bicarb will go in there once this is melted. So we've got a couple of minutes until that melts and then we'll come back, we'll add our bicarb like you normally do when you add bicarb to honeycomb or something. We'll put it in, whisk it to get those bubbles and then we'll pour it into our dry ingredients. So get yourself a little bowl, that's not a little bowl, get yourself a little bowl if you have a little bowl, I don't have a little one, just with some water in it. Put the water on your hands, it's going to make this part a lot easier. The mixture won't stick to your hands like it sometimes can do and be really, really annoying. So you just want to roll sort of golf ball sized rounds of dough. Put it together. And this is the consistency that you want. So I had to add a little bit more flour, a little bit more oats and a little bit more coconut to get to this consistency. And now I'm happy. That's a big one. And remember, they're going to spread. So give yourself room. You probably don't want any more for biscuit trays that size. I don't want any more than 6 on there. So they are going to spread out. They were in the oven for about 20 minutes at 180, and they're not exactly as I wanted them to be. Now, if my grandmother was watching, she would say, Ben, you forgot one very important component, and that's the back of a fork being pushed down on the dough before they go in the oven. I don't know how I forgot it. It's something that I remember so vividly, Nan doing that, because when they came out, they'd have those fork marks in the top of them. So I'm very, very sorry, Nan. Make sure when you make them at home, use a fork to squash them down. They're still nice and chewy, which is what I wanted, so the inside's still nice and chewy. So that's fine, I just forgot the fork component. So now from one antique recipe to an antique shop, we're going to head off and see Henry and Anna as they make their way around Antiques Emporium. And when we come back, I've got a very special guest.
G'day, how you going?
Hey, hi guys, how are you?
I'm Henry.
John.
Good to meet you,
Nice
John.
to-
I'm Anna.
Anna, nice to see
meet
you. Yeah.
I assume you're the owner of Antique Emporium?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Unbelievable, this place. I cannot believe how much.
Great. I'm glad you
stuff there
like
is.
it.
Yeah.
We've already got lost.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do people just get trapped in here all day?
Yeah.
Just
They do. They spend
the books.
hours, and look, sometimes they've got to get their phone out to find their partner.
Yeah.
So,
How did you get started with Antique Emporium?
well, it started when I was 14, and I dreamt about, as a kid, travelling the world buying and going to all these crazy places and bringing things back. And so 26 years later, it all happened. And now, 17 years later, it's evolved into this, and we're now the largest in Tasmania.
Incredible. I wouldn't
Wow.
doubt that for a second
Yeah.
because there's just piles of everything here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very interesting. So you knew from a boy that this is what you wanted to do?
I did. It was a boyhood dream. On the back of a comic, I used to see all these things in America, and I thought that's what I want to do one day. And now I do it, and I go all over the world
Yeah.
to different countries, to America, to UK, India, Rajasthan, Pakistan, and we fill up shipping containers and bring it back here.
How do you do that? When you're overseas, how are you actually sourcing some of this?
Well, we go out and we just do door knocking, just like the American pickers. So we do that all over the world. We do it here in Tasmania, 10 to 20 houses a week, and truckloads of things come in.
Do you ever know what you're looking for, or do you just sort of go in and just be
That's-
surprised?
That's the fun of it, Anna.
Yeah.
You never know what it is that you're going to get. And as a picker, that's fantastic because you've got to decide, what can I do with this? You'd love to find something that you know what you want to do with, but the trick is to do with what you find.
Yeah, right. What would be your most memorable pick?
Oh, good question.
Wow. I've had so many crazy things. But look, downstairs, there's a Velocette motorcycle that I found in a barn in Scotland. And that was awesome to sort of wheel that out of the barn. And I really love to confront customers with different ideas. So we've got a Muslim prayer rug next to a 1950 Velocette motorcycle, an 1850 grandfather clock, and then we've got medical mannequins next to it. So it's a bit crazy.
I definitely want to go and have a look at that.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys.
Absolutely bizarre. So, John, what else do you have?
Well, we've got loads of things to show you guys. We've got our shed, which has all our architectural items. We've got our pirate ship. We've got 8,500 LP records. We've got 1,500 cameras that came in from a private museum. And we've got a massive tin toy truck collection.
John, would you give us the tour?
Let's go and have a look and I'll show you what we've got.
Brilliant.
I really like John.
Likeable bloke.
What a man!
Unbelievable story.
How would you be knowing that you want to hunt antiques from the age of 14 and then you go and actually do it
Acted on it.
and make it, you know, his career for his to support his family for his life?
And you can, I mean, that's the only way you could amass such a collection. There are 4 levels of that store to look through, and the amount of stuff is just astonishing. And he's picked all that himself with his wife.
From all over the world.
Amazing. But we've got a bit of a drive ahead of us. We're going to the big tree.
Yes. I think I've read about it. I think that people can like link arms and hug around it.
But it's still not that big a tree. If there's like 1 or 2 people, like 2 or 3 people linking arms, like there are big trees out there.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to look at it. And near the tree, is that where the dip falls are?
Dip falls near the tree, yep.
Yeah.
So I hear it's a very interesting rock formation.
Oh. Well, that'd be nice. I like waterfalls. I mean, it's been pretty dry here lately. Do you think they'll be flowing?
I don't know, that's a good question.
Otherwise, we could just go for a rock climb.
It'll be a good walk. Be a good walk.
Well, that'll be nice. I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too.
I said before, I've got a very special guest coming along for this recipe, and this is my dad, John. Meet Australia, Australia, meet my dad, John.
How do, Australia?
So, a great antique recipe. When I think of antiques, we've had ANZACs before, and Pavlova, or meringue, is something that my grandmother made growing up, and that's been sort of handed on to you every time we have a family event. Your job is to now make the meringue. So I thought we would do your meringue recipe.
This is an 8-egg meringue, so we've got 8 egg whites ready to go.
Yep, we've got 7 in there. I'm going to add 1. So do you have a special way of getting the yolk out?
I have a plastic bottle to remove the yolk from the
So
white.
can I break that and then just put the whole egg in there and you'll take the yolk out?
I would rather it go into a bowl.
Right.
And then compress the bottle, put it over the egg on the yolk, let go of the bottle and it sucks the yolk up inside the bottle. Then you end up
Nice.
with yolk and white. And you discard the yolk.
That's a great trick. Then your hands don't get messy. So now we've got 8 egg whites in there.
Into the mixing bowl.
In there. Rightio. Now do we add anything or start mixing first?
Okay, the next ingredient is 2 teaspoons of malt vinegar.
2 teaspoons of malt vinegar. 1, 2,
And 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence.
1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. Done.
Okay, now we've got 12 ounces of caster sugar.
Yeah, measured out.
We can just tip that in. It is recommended to add the sugar slowly.
Yeah, I've never done that before.
and I've tried it by adding the sugar slowly.
They say rain it in, don't they? Like,
Rain it in, yeah, and I've done it just like adding it like that, but you start off mixing it slowly,
yep,
so it all gets blended together, and the meringue doesn't seem to turn out any differently.
no different.
So
So started on one.
started on one and just let it blend.
How long do we keep this going?
Okay, now you can move it up to high speed
Yep.
for a minimum of 12 minutes
Whoa,
or until it's called peaked. But I find that nothing under 12 minutes.
right.
So it's flat out.
So we'll get this going, we'll get it to peak for 12 minutes, then we'll come back and have a look at it. All right, so that's been going for about 12 minutes.
12 minutes minimum, you can go up to 14,
Yep.
as long as it's peaked and thickened right up, which it has.
So what are we looking for here? I mean, it's probably quadrupled in size.
Oh yeah, well, it's
Glossy.
Yeah, it's glossy, it's mixed right through, and it's done what it's called peaked.
Yep. All right, so take this off.
We take that off. And then we put it on this, I use a large microwave plate and put baking paper on it. I sticky tape the baking paper on so it doesn't move around while you're trying to spread out the mixture. And basically that's just to start off, pretty good, Ben?
Can I give that to Charlie?
Yep,
Charlie, come here.
this will be good, Charlie.
Take that back.
A lot of people say that's the favourite part of the meringue. So what we do, out of the bowl, onto the plate.
Well, you can see why you need to sticky tape that down.
Yeah, otherwise
It goes everywhere.
you're chasing that all over the place.
Yep.
Like that, done.
Thank you.
So then we mould it into the shape of a cake. And just flatten it out, end up with a circle.
Yep.
Okay, so there's that bit.
That's it.
That's it.
So oven, what do we set the oven
Oven's
at?
at 150 degrees for 1.5 hours approximately. It's up to the individual to decide how they want it to be well cooked, medium cooked, or whatever. So it's just
So the
visual.
chewy, when you get that awesome sort of chewy on the outside, is that due to time in the oven?
No, I think honestly, to me, that's got to do with the mix.
Right.
If you don't mix it enough, it'll be chewy because you haven't got all the sugar dissolved.
Right.
So therefore, when you cook it, it tends to toffee.
Oh, I love that bit.
So I think it's got to do with that, the time you mix the meringue. Then we've still got a little bit of a hole there. We don't want any holes now.
And just over time, have you figured out that this sort of microwave bottom, this glass bottom, is the best thing for sort of conducting heat and getting a good cook?
Yeah, because it does grow. When it goes in the oven, it grows. So that's a very large plate.
Yep.
And you can serve off that as well. So it just goes straight from the oven to the creamery and away you go.
Right, 150.
150 hour and a half. Or I think it's 100 at 2 hours, depending how you want. But
All right.
that's how it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so because we're not going to wait for an hour and a half, this is one that you baked earlier this morning.
Prepared earlier,
Yeah.
yes.
All right, so I'm going to do cream and peaches.
Beautiful.
What varieties have you had in the past? I remember having banana.
Banana, strawberries, passion fruit, well, a whole range of things. You can have a mix like a mixed pizza base.
Yep. Alrighty, and now I'm going to put some peaches in the middle. All right, any other tips you can give people about pavlova or meringue making, Dad?
No, I think we've covered it all, as far as I can see.
So give this a go. This is another one of those great from scratch recipes. If you don't want one that big, that is a very, very, very big meringue. Probably halve, if you just halve the egg whites, would you just halve everything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to make a smaller one, you just use the calculation
And work
and
it
either
out.
add or subtract.
Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't want to go bigger than that, though, would you?
I don't think so.
That is monstrous.
That's a big one.
All right, thank you very much. Join us next time on Left Off the Map.
Thank you. See ya.